Lewiston City Council will come to order. Our first order of business is the Pledge of Allegiance. If you'd stand and join us in reciting our pledge. I
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
So welcome, everyone. Our next order of business is citizen comments. This is an opportunity for individuals wishing to comment on agenda items or other matters they wish to bring to the attention of the council, excluding those scheduled for a public hearing, as there may not be another opportunity to comment once an agenda item is addressed. Individuals are encouraged to speak at this time. Individuals are encouraged to discuss operational issues in advance with the mayor in consideration of others wishing to speak. Commentary is limited to 3 minutes. If you'd like to offer citizen comments tonight, we have a microphone in the middle of the floor. All we need is your name and your city of residence, and then you have 3 minutes to provide your comments. So with that, I would welcome any comments to the floor.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor and council members. My name is Cheney Rhodes. I am with the LTAC and T2 Center in Boise, Idaho. My residence, though, is in Meridian, Idaho. And what we're here for tonight is to recognize some of your employees for technical training that they have taken at a Road Scholar level and a Roadmaster level. With the T2 training, what we offer is 80 hours of training for the Road Scholar portion of it, with more core class requirements and 4 electives. Our Roadmaster is only 4 core requirements and then 5 electives. And what that does is lets the agencies kind of pick and choose the technical training that their employees need, anywhere from environmental BMPs to speed zones and speed studies to traffic control supervisor, any of the classes they feel that will help them advance to those levels. And then the other thing that we've done, because there's a bunch of individuals that have done the Road Scholar and completed the Roadmaster, is we've started a leadership and professional development that has a series of classes that talks about like the organization of your local highway districts and city entities, so that leaders, new employees understand how we were created, what we do, kind of our process, transition to leadership, classes that talk about how we procure things when we purchase and when we buy, and then also team communication. And then the big one that we're finding right now is a huge need is generations, working amongst generations. Currently, we have 6 generations working together. And so this class will help all of us be able to work as a group and not maybe argue sometimes with the difference in the generations and the way that we do things. But if I could, I'll come up here. I've got the awards for them. I'll call out their names, their Road Scholar and Roadmaster awards. And then if I could get a picture with the mayor and the council members with them in it, would that be okay?
We'll get through it. Yes, sir.
Awesome. Thank you, guys. Thank you for your time. So first, we have David Thompson with a Road Scholar level. And in lieu of time, I'm going to give him this other program. With the Road Scholar, you get 11, a hat, and then of course a plaque. For your arms, right? And then Jason also gets another plaque with his Roadmaster Award, and then he gets a Carhartt Roadmaster Award as well. With the leadership program, we wanted to give an award, and as I travel around the state, I was like, what can we give them that they don't have? And giving them a leather, and giving them a coat. And as I look around, and even in here, I don't see as many, but I always see water cups or water cups. And so what we did is we went with Stanley 40-ounce cups that have the smaller water on them so they can fit in the guys' dump trucks or equipment. And then you'll say leadership development on that as the leadership. Give Jason a hand. We emailed it to him just because of COVID and everything. He needed his recognition, and we wanted him to be able to do that so that you guys, or his agency could recognize him. Then, when we got a chance to come back, we would recognize him again, in front of the council. So, Jacob, there you go with your Rhodes Scholar, and thank you, sir, thank you so much. And then we have Dave Murrow. Give him a hand, and then I'll grab the picture. Yeah, Dave got a Rhodes Scholar. I'm sorry about that. Dave is a Rhodes Scholar. Sorry, that's my bad on there. Sorry, guys. Can I get you guys up here to smile pretty for a picture, please?
A lot sitting.
Councilors, can we stand behind us just 1 minute?
If you guys will stay in your same seat, or not your seats, but down here in the same, your names, so that when we get the pictures, I'll have them in order and remember. Two ones.
Thank you, Jason.
Congratulations again. Thank you
Jacob,
very much. Good night.
Jason, boy, for Dave. We're very proud of you. Thank you for making the city look good. Thank you. Thank you for coming. Are there further citizen comments tonight? We'll jump ahead to Roman numeral 4, presentations. A, Clearwater Economic Development Association report. Executive Director Dot Snodgrass will provide a report on the accomplishments of the Clearwater Economic Development Association. Dot, welcome tonight. Please introduce yourself for the record. The floor is yours. Thank you.
Thank you, Mayor. Great to be here. I'm Dodge Snodgrass, Executive Director for the Clearwater Economic Development Association. I appreciate the opportunity tonight to talk to you about CEDA a little bit. We have a quarterly fall report, It's available. I have copies with Tanya. So, do this. Okay. So a little bit about myself. I've been the executive director for CEDA for 4 years. Prior to that, I worked 16 years in a public port authority in Washington in an economic development role. And prior to that, I was with the Clearwater Economic Development Association through most of the 90s. So I've been pretty embedded in the region and the involvement with CEDA in the communities in north central Idaho. So there's a little snapshot of our mission and vision. About CEDA, so we're your regional economic development district. We're sponsored by the U.S. Economic Development Administration. There's 5 similar regional organizations in the state of Idaho, and there's well over 400 nationwide. They're often called rural development organizations. Some are councils of government. Some have transportation authority, area agency on aging. You do various things, but the core of what we do is regional economic planning, community improvement, and working with rural and urban areas in our region. So when we have a membership and we have a board, Our membership is foundation are the 5 counties. The 5 counties north central Idaho. Virtually every city in the region is a member of CETA. Lewiston's a member of CETA, has been for a long time. We have lending institutions in the region. We have engineers. We've got some private sector. University of Idaho, Lewis Clark State College, Nez Perce Tribe, all members of CETA. And we have a board of directors, and Mayor Johnson serves on the board representing Lewiston. We've been around a long time, since 1968. We have accomplished quite a bit in the region over those 55 plus years. And we like to think of ourselves as collaborators. Our board represents that in terms of what we do region-wide. We are a collaborative organization. And that's kind of I thought of this as kind of a testament of what we do and value. It's for the region and for the community. So we think of a regional term. We can have strong communities, we can have a strong region. If we build a region, the communities benefit. Lewiston benefits because the communities around the region. We have trade, we work in different communities, we live, we move about, and so we all benefit by supporting the region. So I'll talk a little bit about the core programs we have here at CETA. One of the key things we do is a regional economic strategy called the Comprehensive Economic Strategy. This is available on our website. This is basically an overview of the region, assets, goals for the region, identification of the economic strengths, challenges, and it's a roadmap that's available for the entire region, the communities to use to apply for grants or identify things they'd like to pursue. And we're in the process of getting that plan updated. We've had some outreach process. We've had some survey work completed. We've taken input. So our planning manager is working on getting that wrapped up over the winter. So you'll be able to see that shortly. Community development, or what I prefer to say is project development. People think of CETA primarily as grant writers. That's a big part of what we do, but we primarily do though is project development, which is everything you have to pull together to accomplish, a vision for a community to accomplish something. And a major area we work in is community development block grants. Lewiston is an entitlement city, so you have HUD money that comes directly to the city that you allocate. We work with the non-entitlement funds that the state has, which benefit non-entitlement communities. And we've been very successful with that program. As you can see, $12 million since 2015. And this will do public facilities projects, water, sewer, firehouses, community centers, senior centers. We've been involved with a big majority of projects in that area. And it works with other funding sources such as the DEQ or USDA Rural Development. We work with those programs as well. Here's some examples. Well, there's signs because sometimes a picture of a wastewater project's not too exciting, but we were involved in Cottonwood with St. Mary's Hospital with electrical upgrades. Elk City, we just completed a water tower in Elk City. So we go to the hinterlands. We go everywhere from Riggins all the way up to Potlatch. Nez Perce, Idaho, in Lewis County, big wastewater project, and a wastewater project well is in Craigmont. So some examples there. We also, restrooms are really popular. So we're kind of the CXT gods. That's the maker of these restrooms that you see, and there's a category of grants that'll do restrooms and park projects. So we've been doing quite a few park improvements around the region. If you're ever out and about in Cottonwood, for example, we worked on that facility, that pavilion that's there with a meeting facility and a restroom, and the entire park improvement was completed by the community. So it's really a great example of kind of a spark to get one piece of a project done and a lot of other things getting accomplished. So we're really proud of those kinds of projects. And we're engaged currently in a lot of other things. We're working with the city of Deary on a downtown revitalization strategy. We're working, again, in Nez Perce with a senior center. We're working with water projects, a lot of things that are in the planning stage right now. So broadband, we're excited. There's a lot going on in this area, as you might probably are aware of. What you may not know is 20 years ago, there was telecommunication services, and the big cities had something, but we were a desert. We were a black hole in north central Idaho. And my predecessor, Christine Fry, our executive director had this vision with a lot of different groups to start looking at broadband. So we did some studies, we got involved with some work, some planning funds from some different agencies over that period of time. And we got connected with DIGB2, which is the District 2 Interoperability Governance Board, which are the emergency managers, the E911 operators, about their goals to get faster, better, safer telecommunications, redundant telecommunications. And then COVID came along, and as you know, then there was a big tranche of funding to do broadband, primarily in rural areas. So we took advantage of that. We did some work up on the prairie in Idaho and Lewis County. The Port of Lewiston, which is already had been engaged in broadband in Lewiston, we helped them secure $4.2 million from the U.S. Economic Development Administration. And then later we got $11 million for Idaho County to work on middle mile projects from Orofino to Nez Perce to Grangeville. The middle mile is the critical element that we've been missing. It's basically the backbone. We think of it as dark fiber, open access. So once this network gets built, it'll create opportunities for private sector ISPs to go out and serve communities. The Idaho County project's pretty exciting because it'll do fiber to the home in Grangeville as well as Nez Perce. And there's a project from an organization called Iron, which is doing work from Grangeville down to Star. So none of this was going to happen, and we're not responsible for that. This was an example of lots and lots of different groups and players who got the attention of the governor and different agencies to get this addressed. And so it's great to see it coming to fruition. As you know, the port broke ground, it's moving forward, the Idaho County project's moving forward. So we're excited that we had a small part in that success moving forward. Workforce development. So we are involved in workforce development in a number of different ways. We got involved with the Idaho Association for the Education of Young Children with basically early learning collaboratives. And these existed around the state, but there wasn't anything going on in north central Idaho. They're a foundation based in Boise. And so we secured some funding to do basically outreach with early learning centers, libraries, Idaho Stars, Lewis Clark State College, to help facilitate educational information for parents for young children that are about to enter kindergarten. So what does that do with an economic development agency? Well, a lot to do, because the health and education well-being of young children carries them through, and we're really good at implementing programs. So we've been able to work on this. We've delivered about 1,200 early learning kits throughout the region with early learning providers. And it's obviously very well connected to childcare, which you all know is a major concern and interest that we need to address better everywhere. This is another big event that we do. We do this, we're going to do it our 9th year. This is our Dream It, Do It Here Youth Career Conference. And we rotate this between University of Idaho and LCSC. We'll be back at the LC State campus this May. And what this is we get support and sponsorship from local area businesses. We reach out with the counselors across the region, and not just north central Idaho, but southeastern Washington. And we invite all the school districts and sophomores and juniors to come on campus, and they go through different meeting sessions with business leaders. And so it's been really exciting to see these young people come and they interact. The idea and focus of this is retaining and growing our workforce. Young people, they graduate high school, they may go to school here, they may leave, go to school elsewhere, they may not go to school, they may go in the workforce. We want to capture them as much as possible, keep them in the region. This is all about creating excitement, about careers, about great opportunities. We have a company called Hilco, which is in Nez Perce that comes. Pacific Cabinets usually comes, which is in Ferdinand. They do really great work, and they're right here based in north central Idaho. So we're looking forward to that project. And our connection to educational institutions can also be shown back in the bond that was passed by the citizens for the high school. For those of you, I wasn't in the area at the time, but you know, several times we tried to pass that bond. Once a workforce development element was woven in that, and the Diatley Center and the Schweitzer Career Center were elements that brought forward, that helped elevate the support for the bond. CETA was involved in funding for both of those entities in equipment. So we had US EDA funding in both those institutions, and those buildings are doing a lot for our young people, and we're really excited about that. So it's all about keeping and growing our workforce. Another workforce program, which is a little out of the box for an economic development agency, but we manage the Clearwater Basin Youth Conservation Corps. We've been doing this for 5 years. And this is a career program, or it's a temporary work program for high school students in north central Idaho from Grangeville, Kamei, Kuski, Pierce, Orofino, and Latah County communities to work on stewardship projects. And we have funding sponsorship from the Forest Service, from Army Corps of Engineers, from the Park Service. And this is an outstanding program. As these kids are out working, they have project leads that we hire as well. They're learning skills, they're learning leadership, responsibility. When these kids complete this work program with YCC, they're really well set up to move on to a career or to college or university. And we do have a career day. So part of the last day we bring agencies in. We had Idaho Forest Group there, talked to them last year. They're very excited about hiring young people in their organization. So this has been a really great program for our youth. And there's a picture of our crew from last year. Talent pipeline management is another element we're involved in workforce development. We have some support from the Workforce Development Council. We've done some outreach with area employers, primarily in healthcare and manufacturing. But we also did get engaged with direct support professionals, and these are folks that work in in-home care and helping folks basically supported by Medicaid, basically to create an apprenticeship program through Lewis Clark State College workforce training. So that program had been funded. Our main engagement with the career talent pipeline management is finding out what needs the employers have. So training programs such as LC State offers or Walla Walla Community College can be made available to them. So that's kind of exciting as well. Moving into business development, we also offer a loan program, and this is something available to all businesses in north central Idaho. We do offer loan support in southeastern Washington. So there's some highlights of the kind of loan program we offer. It's basically gap financing. We don't compete with traditional conventional lenders where we fill a niche for businesses or borrowers that can't get fully financed by the bank. So the proceeds are pretty similar to other loans that can be offered by traditional bankers. We do offer some technical assistance in our program, but we encourage involvement with the Small Business Development Center. SBDC is a great resource for people that have an existing business, they have a business plan, they want to move forward. We can help as well. But they need to go see the bank or the credit union and come back with a turn down letter, and then we're able to assist in different ways. And the kind of ways we're able to assist are microloans up to $1.5 million. We hadn't previously been able to do up to $1.5 million, but we've got some capital funds that allow us to do that. We've seen fewer loans, but they've been larger. And so that's something we're capable to do. And so some points about how we're different. And also under business development, I do want to emphasize what's unique about CEDA is that we're a developer in terms of we've developed buildings and we've leased them back to communities like a fire hall in Craigmont. We developed a business park in Craigmont. We developed a building up in Moscow that had a tenant, and that tenant thrived in that building for a number of years until they moved out and we sold the building. But we're able to do creative things because we, as a nonprofit, we can receive grant funds, we can do development, we could do different kinds of things. But with our loan program, $5.5 million loan capital, pretty small compared to a bank or a credit union, but pretty substantial for a nonprofit partnership entity. So the last thing I want to leave you with is I returned from a national conference last week, and one of the speakers was Doug Griffiths, and Doug's a really well-known presenter, and he has this book, 13 Ways to Kill Community. How many of you have heard of this? Yeah, you've heard of this book. So Doug's a really great presenter, and he's very popular in the community economic development circles. And so he talked a lot about his observations. One thing that really caught my attention was some work he'd done across communities determine what are the factors that might motivate a person moving there or investment to occur. And he created a list. And these are all important things. None of these are not important, but these are the things he determined were kind of in order of importance. So taxes are important. Everybody has to pay taxes. Nobody likes paying taxes. You hear about it all the time. Does it matter that much in terms of all the lists, all the decisions that someone is going to make, move to a community? It isn't in the whole scheme of things. Infrastructure is absolutely critical. You need a functioning infrastructure, you need water, sewer, you need all those things to support the community and support business growth. Housing workforce, again, housing workforce are some of the most popular topics that are really challenging right now, along with child care, transportation, those other things. And so he ranked them above the other two, but that wasn't the most important thing. Quality of life. Quality of life is kind of in the eye of the beholder. We all know we want to appreciate a place that has things for us to do. We want to access the outdoors. We want all those amenities that are critical to having a beneficial and healthy and fulfilling life. So quality of life is there. But the one thing that he ran across when he looked at all communities that he worked with was this one: communication cooperation. And what this caught my eye is that among the other things, this is the only thing that doesn't really cost anything. And communication cooperation is beneficial to any organization, my organization, any community, anybody, any entities to work together. And so it kind of resonated with me that was his main takeaway. All those things are real critical. There's a lot of other things that are really important, but that was something that caught my eye. So that is my presentation, and I appreciate it, and I stand for any questions.
Thank you, Dodd. Council, questions? Well, I'm going to say I really appreciate my time on the CETA board. Actually, a city councilor should hold that position, but we had a vacancy, so I stepped in and filled that. So come January, when we go through our appointments again, Dodd, you'll probably see a new face join your board. But I've really enjoyed it. And, I just compliment Dodd and his staff. They're hard-working folks. And even years ago, when I was in the state legislature, I worked closely with CETA, especially up in the Craigmont area. There was a lot going on up there for a time. We had a foundry up there and everything else, and that was pretty cool to see all that happen up there.
Appreciate it. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you. And you have a retirement coming up too, so you have a big hole to fill.
Not quite yet, but at some point.
Don't you have somebody else, John Lang?
Oh, John. Oh, I thought you were talking about me.
No, I'm just trying to drive you out.
John Lane, many of you might know, John Lane is our loan officer. He's been there for 29 years. He basically birthed our program. We had no program, and he straightened it all out. In fact, our whole agency was not in great shape back then, and we've come a long ways. But John's retiring the end of December. So he's done a lot. I think added up 300 and some loans that he's generated, and there's countless businesses, small businesses in our region that have been benefited from his efforts. So
Played a big role, and I don't want to underestimate too the importance of having a healthy community in the region surrounding us, because if they're healthy, we're going to be healthy. So I just really appreciate the work that CETA does.
thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you, Don. Councilors, next up we have Roman numeral 4B, August financial report. This is a non-oral report, just for your review for the 11 months ended August 31, 2025. In accordance with Idaho Code 50-208. Also, we have Roman numeral 4C, September financial report. We will have an oral report from my city treasurer, Amy Gordon. This is for the 12 months ended September 30, 2025, in accordance with Idaho Code 50-208. Amy, welcome. Please introduce yourself for the record. The floor is yours. Thank you.
Thank you, Mayor, City Council, Amy Gordon, City Treasurer. So tonight I'll be presenting to you our September 30th financial report, which is our fiscal year end. So we've now completed all 4 quarters of fiscal year 2025. It runs October 1st, 2024 through September 30th, 2025. As we walk through the report tonight, you're going to see the word preliminary stamped on every slide. In your packet, you probably saw preliminary at the header of the financial report. And that is because once we hit our year end, then we start moving into our year end entries. So we'll do quite a bit of work between now, middle of November. We're going through and doing those adjustments that we only do at year end. And then we take that trial balance, we turn it over to the auditors, they'll go through, they'll review our financials, and then your final report will come to you in the form of the ACFR, the annual comprehensive financial report, which in February, you'll get a detailed presentation of those numbers from the auditors. So here's a snapshot of the grand totals of the general fund. This is on page 4 of 10 of the September financial report. And I just highlighted a couple of numbers there, which is our year-to-date revenue of 29.6 million. And then our year-to-date expenses of 31.3 million. Currently, that's an excess of expenses over revenue of 1.7 million. As a reminder for council and the public as well, is when we are looking at these numbers, they'll include all the activity within the general fund, including activity that's coming out of other reserve balances besides your unassigned fund balance. So that would be your assigned building fund, the opioid settlement monies that we've been receiving, our narcotic reserve that we have for the police department, as well as our unemployment reserves. So when we filter those items out, we're currently showing a $1.3 million reduction in our unassigned fund balance. And so just a reminder to council, we did build our 2025 budget to use 1.33 million of unassigned fund balance. So we're right on target to how we built our budget. I just highlighted that other line item just to remind council that that's where we budget the use of our reserves, the use of our savings account. So as you go throughout the report, you'll see in any of the funds that we either used savings to balance out the budget, or maybe we're setting money aside into savings. Those will be budgeted in that line item, but we don't actually collect that money. That's just our budgetary entry. I also kind of wanted to talk about like why there's such a variance between our year-to-date, so our actual revenue to budgeted revenues. Again, that goes back to budgeting for the use of those reserves. So in addition to the unassigned fund balance reserves that we built into our budget, we also have the assigned building fund that we built into the budget. That will impact both your revenue side as well as your expenditure side this year, because we didn't end up spending much of that assigned fund balance. We fully appropriated it out, but we spent about, I should have pulled this number, but just a few $100,000 of that. So when we work through a lot of our year-end adjustments, they are usually they impact our revenues more so than our expenditures, because what we try really hard to do before we pull this report to provide it to council is to get all the invoices paid. So this report will give council a realistic glimpse of actual spending. So as we work through our year-end numbers, we will likely see a little bit more of a decline in the amount of unassigned fund balance that we're using, because we still have a lot of revenue entries to make. Our delinquent property taxes, I won't be able to make that entry until after I get some data from the county. We have some receivables that are still being processed. For example, ambulance billing, they're still going through and processing claims for September. We'll go in and we'll capture that revenue. So whereas we work through those entries, we should see this picture improving a bit. Are there any questions so far? I brought up workers' comp to show council tonight. I just wanted to point out, when we wrote the 2025 budget, we provided some additional funding to workers' comp to try to reestablish some reserves that had been used in prior years to cover some high claim costs that we had. In August, we included a budget amendment So the initial original budget was written to be an 895,000 expenditure budget. We amended it in August to include an additional 400 on both the revenue and the expenditure side. And that was to capture the claim costs that were being paid for by our stop insurance policy. So we had a high claimant hit the threshold that triggers our stop loss coverage. And so at that point, all those claims are being paid by the stop loss carrier. But we recognize that as a reimbursement on the revenue side, an expense on the expenditure side. The reason I highlighted these numbers and I wanted council to see them is when you look at it, we have an excess of revenue over expenses. So that means that we're starting to turn the corner on those high claims exceeding our revenues. So this year we will put a couple $100,000 into the workers' comp reserve. So approximately 260,000, which is a little bit over that excess revenue that we planned in that fund. So that's good news. We're turning that back around. Enterprise funds, I always like to discuss this a little bit at year end. These reports that you have, the preliminary reports you have, are really good reports to refer back to. Enterprise funds, they are presented very much like a private enterprise, private business. So as we go through our year-end process, a lot of that is capitalizing all of our capital assets. So making all of our capital asset entries. The enterprise funds, they capitalize assets and improvements into capital assets. So at that point, we're removing them from the expense accounts and we're adding them to the asset values. So when you get your final financial statements at year end from the audit report, all those expenses will have been zeroed out, almost all of them, and put into the asset values. So these are really good reports to refer back to see what we actually spent in capital. The reason why we budget for capital expenses is they still have to have the council's approval to spend the money. So you appropriate the funds, we track that spending throughout the end of the year to make certain that they stay within the budget. Then through our year-end process, we capitalize those expenditures. I listed out the funds that those impact. There are utility funds, water, wastewater, stormwater, and sanitation, as well as our internal service funds. Capital transportation, I just wanted to talk about it a little bit. This is one of the funds that you'll actually see additional expenses post to it when we close out the year. As of September 30th, they have open POs. So with the governmental funds, we put the large projects into the capital fund. That's why our capital fund is established. And if they have committed resources, we will capture every committed dollar into the expenses for the year so that we have a true representation of true available resources. So the rules are a little bit different for a governmental fund than they are for the enterprise fund. So with the enterprise funds, we capture all the money that's been committed so that we're not considering those committed dollars when we're making future financial decisions. I highlighted the federal grant revenue line item there, 4.2 million. Maybe somebody up there on council wondered why we would have so much in federal grant revenue when our capital expenses were low this year. If you did, that was a very smart observation because we received a grant this year, which Dustin included some information into a few of the council agenda items last council meeting regarding Snake River Avenue. And we had a 3.7 million grant that we actually received the funds in advance. So it was very rare that we get a grant where the money comes to us and then we spend it. Almost all of our grants are on a reimbursement method. So that's why you're seeing that revenue there. I'll be working with the auditors. That may get reclassified to an unearned revenue where we recognize the revenue as we spend the dollars so that as we commit and spend the dollars, they'll be recognized as revenue at that point in time. So that's to be determined on that. And that's all I have tonight for you. I know there's a lot more in your packet, but to summarize, that's what I have for you this evening. If there's any questions.
Thank you, Director. Councilors, questions? Councilor Spickelmeyer.
Thank you, Mayor. You're probably not going to like this question.
Okay.
since we're looking at a bond coming up the election, a lot of people are asking us, when they look at these reports, they say, the city has $41 million cash in the bank, why don't we pay for it?
So when we're talking about that particular bond, that's to improve several infrastructure systems within the city. So water is involved, wastewater, stormwater, and the, the surfaces above, which is transportation, as well as the traffic infrastructure. Again, transportation. So the traffic streets, that's revenue. Transportation and receipts are managed within the capital fund. Each of those areas that we just discussed, water, wastewater, they have to pay their own piece. So we can't take property taxes and improve a water infrastructure. Water pays for their own improvements. And when we look at doing a bond, we're looking at using that debt as a tool to do the job now at today's rates, rather than trying to cash fund the project over time and chase inflation. So that would allow us to do the project in the next couple of years and to be able to do all of those improvements at one time, so that everyone can have that money that they need to do their improvements at one time. Tear the streets apart, you do the improvements at one time. But when we parcel that out and we look at just those silos, we have to look at the revenues that, what does capital transportation have in the savings bank? What does water have in their savings bank? What does wastewater have? What does stormwater have? So we're only looking at those funds when we're making these decisions.
Counselor?
And I would also add too, and I guess director's here with the Public Works, that if we use the funds that are in the different ones, wastewater, water, sewer, is that if we use that, that helps us keep from having to adjust our utility rates all the time. That can kind of backfill behind it as we go, as projects are needed.
Yeah. So when we took a responsible look at that, I mean, we looked at how much cash can we put into the project up front, and then how much remainder do we need for the bond. But we have to be careful. We don't want to put all of water's money that they have available into this project and then not have anything available should we have an emergency repair that needs to be done elsewhere throughout the city. So it was balancing out what they could afford to put into this project, but still retain responsible reserves for other potential issues.
Counselor?
And then like with the city's reserves, isn't there kind of a standard that a city should hold as a reserve, just as you mentioned, in case of emergencies, a percentage?
For the general fund, as well as our other governmental funds, we aim for 90-day operating cash in reserves. The reason we do 90 days, it can vary from different governmental entities. The Government Finance Officers Association recommends that you maintain reserves, but you have to set your days cash on hand based off your individual needs. The reason we utilize 90 days is we have to operate from October to January before we get our first property tax payment and before we get our first payments from the state of Idaho for our state shared revenues. So that will help us bridge that gap between October and January when our 3 largest revenues come in.
Council, other questions for Amy? Doesn't look like it. Thank you, Amy.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Council, next up, we have Roman numeral 5 consent agenda. All items on the consent agenda are considered routine by the council and will be enacted by one motion. There will be no separate discussion on these issues unless a councilor so requests, in which case the item will be removed from the consent agenda and considered on the active agenda under items moved from the consent agenda. Councilors?
Mayor,
Councilor Forsman?
motion to approve the consent agenda as stand.
Second.
Been moved by Councilor Forsman, second by Councilor Schroeder to
Approve the.
Accept the consent agenda. Those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
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 Opposed?
Roll call.
Council, next we move to the active
Mayor,
agenda.
roll call.
It's a roll call.
It is a roll call. Clerk Brocky.
Council President Kleberg,
Aye.
Councilor Wright,
Aye.
Councilor Forsman,
Aye.
Councilor Schroeder,
Aye.
Councilor Klein,
Aye.
Councilor Sticklemeyer.
Aye.
Thank you, Council President Kleber, Clerk Brocky. Council, next we move to Roman numeral 6, the active agenda, item A, Urban Renewal Agency, Nez Perce County Representative appointment, considering the appointment of Doug Havens to the Urban Renewal Agency of the City of Lewiston, Idaho, as the Nez Perce County's representative, and I need to get to there, excuse me. Okay, councilors, I would move to approve the appointment of Doug Havens to the Urban Renewal Agency of the City of Lewiston, Idaho, as the Nez Perce County representative.
Second.
Council President Kleberg.
Mr. Mayor, thank you. I can't support this. I've been on the Urban Renewal Agency for quite a few years. Commissioner Havens has recently started showing up in the absence of Mr. Gish. And as such, I don't know how to put this real diplomatically, but he's not been a friend to the Urban Renewal Agency, if you will. I would support the county bringing another name to us, but I could support. I can't support Commissioner Havens.
For further discussion,
Mayor,
Councilor Forsman.
do we know how long Commissioner Doug Havens has been on the board in that position?
Councilor, I think he just got appointed.
Okay, he hasn't served prior to that.
Commissioner Gish was there. Council President Kleberg.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Mayor. No, prior to being Commissioner Gish, he was just Mr. Gish, and he was appointed by the county to represent the county on the URA as a citizen at large, if you will. Correct on that? Ask Director Grove for maybe a little clarification.
Shannon Grove, Community Development Director. So Mr. Gish was a community member at large. Once he was elected to the Nez Perce County Commissioners, he could no longer serve as a community member at large. The county does what the city does, and they assign members of their commission to each of the different boards and commissions that there's representatives for. This should have been done back in January. What happens with URA commissioners or URA board members, sorry. There are members at large, which the URA will interview and make a recommendation to council. And then there are the county, the Port of Lewiston, and Valley Vision, where those board members are chosen and brought forth to the council to represent their agencies. So in this case, we did not go through the confirmation of that with the city council back in January like we should have. So Mr. Havens has been attending meetings and voting, but this had not happened and was brought to our attention. And I think you were asking if he had previously been on the URA board, and he has. I can't give you exact dates and years, but he has previously been on the board.
Thank you.
Thank you, Director Grove.
Jennifer.
legal.
Don't fall, don't fall.
Mayor, councilors, just a point of clarification. I just wanted to note that the city did not take any action earlier because the city did not receive the nomination from the county until the end of September. And so it's not for lack of the city's action, but because the city did not actually receive the nomination for Mr. Havens until approximately September 29th of 2025.
And Jennifer, for the record?
Jennifer Tangano, city attorney for the city of Lewiston.
Thank you. Councilors, further questions, comments on this nomination? Councilor Forsman?
So just so I'm understanding, so that, if we decided not to put Doug in that position, then basically it would go back to just the commissioners, and then they would decide if they wanted to elect someone else, a different commissioner to that spot, because we're only talking about commissioners, not public at large posting type thing. Right, am I understanding that?
That would be my understanding, Councilor.
Okay.
Okay, I don't see further comments or question. Favor, please signify by saying aye. Those opposed, nay?
Nay.
Motion fails. Excuse me?
Am I allowed to make a comment?
At the end you can, Counselor, thank you. Okay, Council, next up we have Roman numeral 6B, Resolution 2025-48, considering approving an emergency services agreement between the City of Lewiston, Idaho and Assault County for emergency medical services to the Assault County Rural Emergency Medical Services District 2, and authorizing the mayor to sign the agreement. This is an action item, and we have our Chief Greg Reitmar with us here tonight. Fire Chief Fire Chief Reitmar, welcome. The floor is yours.
Thank you, Mayor, Council, good evening. Provided you with the, in your council packet, the contract, and then an update was made with a couple little minor edits for some dates, and that's been provided to you tonight. Stand for questions, just a Q&A for you.
Thank you, Chief. Council? Councilor Speckelmeyer?
Thank you, Mayor. So Chief, looking through it, there was a couple things in the contract I couldn't find. Is there a yearly increments in the contract for cost increases?
This is for the rural contract, the rural EMS district, and there's not a specific increment provided. It's based on the ground emergency medical transport data that is annually updated from the state of Washington when we do our review there. And that takes into account not only our staffing costs, but increase in fuel, medical supplies, any increases we would see will be adjusted in that report. It's one of the reasons that we really like it. Before, we just had it strictly a quote unquote operational cost, which is kind of hard to get down to exactly what's operational, what's not, along with the labor increase. And the formula in the previous contracts was not very clear. So we followed in this one the same format that we had before with the Nez Perce County contract we provided you.
Well, so basic with your answer, I couldn't hear you very well, sorry, but any increase in our personnel costs aren't included in that.
No, any increase in our personnel costs, our costs of medical supplies, fuel, heat, air, anything is all submitted annually as part of our ground emergency medical transport data package that goes to the state of Washington through the auditor process. And so that all of those things will be included each year, and it won't be retrograde, it'll be applied to the current year.
Councilor?
So when I was reading through it, I guess I didn't catch that. All I caught was increments and number of runs, really.
Yeah, it would be in the attachment, or I believe it's called an exhibit. In Exhibit B, I believe, is where it shows the sample calculation of how we calculate that each year, and it references the ground emergency medical transport information.
Counselor Schroeder,
I'd like to make a motion.
motion's in order.
I move to approve Resolution 2025-48.
Second.
Been moved by Counselor Schroeder, second by Counselor Forsman, to approve Resolution 2025-48. Counselor Schroeder, would you like to speak to your motion?
I just think that this is a really great opportunity, and I'm pleased that we're working in that direction.
Discussion? Counselor Speckelmeyer?
Thank you, Mayor. So I guess my biggest thing in here that catches my eye is that, and I know it's a great benefit, and the Stoughton County's been a great partner in this, but if you look at it, this thing was originally set up to help our reaction to the Elks area, right?
So
The
unless
1 minute
unless
response
I'm
time?
mistaken, we've got the resolutions backward. This
I
is
do.
the rural EMS resolution, is that correct?
This is the rural.
The rural, so I believe you're talking about the fire district, which will be the next resolution, sir.
Counselor, I'm going to give you just a minute.
Hmm?
I'm going to give you just a minute until you're ready. Counselor Forsman?
Wow, Counselor Speckelmeyer's getting prepared. I just wanted to make a comment that I sat with Chief Reitmeyer and we went over this extensively so that I could make sure I understood it and that we were agreeing to. I went through all the legal documents and what we're signing into and what we're agreeing to, and also being a part of the MSAB board and having some history behind things such as these. And so with that, that's why I'm in support of it. And this also affects, well, no, that's the different one. Rural doesn't affect that, but creating better partnership with those in our surrounding community and helping both each other on each side of the river. So I think it's important that we continue to be a partner in the valley with those around us and other communities and around us.
If I may, the mayor, the guiding direction he gave to me is he wanted to make sure that these agreements, these service agreements that we had outside of the city area, that we eliminated the taxpayers or stipending that essentially, filling that gap. It's one thing for us to fill the gap between the medical system that exists in America today and what we can recover from insurance companies or private pay and so forth. There's always going to be that gap in services, and when it's for somebody who lives in the city and pays city taxes, it's appropriate that their dollars go for that. When it's out in Nez Perce County, as the case with the last contract I brought to you, that we weren't okay with that. We had better tools available to us now with the GMT to quantify in the holistic approach of all the costs that we were able to analyze and look at and do a much better job. So I think that's what I've brought to you tonight in these two contracts, is really trying to, we're eliminating that city dollars going out, I think, as much as you can realistically as you're projecting numbers and dealing with some unknowns. But a good faith effort to make sure our tax dollars in the city stay in the city, and it gives the opportunity for the other agencies as well to be the partner that they want to be. They also want to make sure that they're providing services with the tax dollars within their communities.
Counselor Speckelmeyer, did you have any other questions for the?
I guess I would just, sorry, yeah, I was trying to gather my notes on this. So this is the same unit that's sitting at the Stoughton County station.
That would be
This
the
is the rural
primary,
response.
yes, sir, that would be the primary unit would cover this. If they weren't available, if they were already on a call, then it would be a unit. Most likely, either engine or we cross staff a unit with engine 7.4, or it would be engine 7.1 from down, or medic 7.1 from down.
So if they were responding to one of these remote calls, they wouldn't be available for a response in the city. Lewiston.
Correct. Anytime a unit's out responding, they're not available for another call. That's correct.
So what's the advantage to the Lewiston taxpayers?
I think the advantage really is some cost recovery that we're able to The Asotin County contracts pay for the vast majority of that unit, and that gives us that surge capacity that we enjoy from that, and it at a reduced cost for the citizens, frankly. The citizens would have to come up with roughly $800,000 to still staff that unit without the revenue that we receive from the Asotin County contracts.
So aren't they the majority user of it?
Correct, and they roughly use right around that 70% range, and we receive a little bit above that for the service use.
So it's an extremely good service for Asotin County.
I think it's good for both of us. They're using it 70%, they're paying 70%, we're using it 20%, we're paying 20%. The other 10% of the time it's being utilized by other areas that we receive service contract reimbursement from. So it's a unit that, so if it runs, out of its 1,500 calls, it's running 600 of those calls in the city. If we were to just pull it back, two options, right? We could pull it back into the city. Then we have to make up that gap of $800,000 a year to pay for it. If we got rid of it, then we're going to have to decrease our staffing on our fire engines or our medic units in order to meet our budget. And in that case, we're going to drop below our national standards and our insurance rating standards to meet an effective fireground force.
Councilor Speckelmeyer.
So I guess the way I see it is that if they're using it 70% of the time, do we really need that many people if we had to pull them back to us?
We need the 16 that we have on duty. That's the standard, and that we meet that standard.
It's standard, but we're not using them. I don't get it. They're 70% of the time, they aren't even being used for the taxpayers in Lewiston.
But 20% of the time they are.
Yeah.
And 20% is what we're paying for them.
So when you're coming up with this cost, the $799, does that include all of our costs for depreciation of the fire trucks and everything? That they, how much they cost?
So that call, or that $799, is what we're basing on the GMT that includes all of the costs of our department. So fire engines are a little different in the sense that we don't send fire engines over there for EMS responses.
Well, the ambulance.
But the medic units, yes, sir. Yes, the vehicle depreciation is included in that. Our fuel, our utility bills, our laundry, everything is included in that GMT calculation that's at the basis for that per call fee.
I don't know, I guess for me, it's, I don't have any problem with the city of Lewiston crossing the river to help Asotin County, but putting a unit over there, I don't think it's the best interest of the taxpayer, in my opinion.
We have the property tax exemption applications that get sent out show a little over 530 houses in the Elk subdivision. So I think those 530 people having a minute closer response time those 500 households would agree that this is a good thing for them. Otherwise, we have to pull that unit. If we were to pull that unit back, property taxes would go up and the response time would be further away. So
Except when they're gone.
except when they're gone. Yes, sir.
That's all I have.
Thank you, Councilor.
Mayor,
Councilor Forsman.
how often do we ever have where we're busy, Lewiston Fire is busy, or EMTs, and they come over to help us? So a mutual assistance of, we need assistance now because of.
So this contract before you right now is the Rural EMS Service District. And it's roughly, it's Heller Bar, Anatone, Cloverland. So that's the rural area. There are no services there. There's no fire district or anybody. So this is just a straight up service contract, similar to the one with Nez Perce County, where there's nobody else to respond other than us.
Mayor, follow up.
Councilor Forsman.
I guess what I was leading to that is having that ambulance housed there, right? Because we're providing living, food, a place to store the ambulance and everything that we don't have to worry about. We don't have to have a separate station housing all that and the staff that are in there. If we didn't have that, then obviously we'd have to have the ambulance over here. how often by having that ambulance there, do we get to have also a Stoughton come and assist us in the event that something is needed? Not
Yeah.
specifically talking about, I guess, the rural contract type thing, but just,
Yeah, I think I understand your question better. If I may, it sounds like this is a question to the next resolution that you have
We can wait.
before you. I apologize, maybe a bad thing to have them both on the same night. This is the rural EMS district, the Anatone, Hellerbar, Cloverland. It's the area where it's kind of a, rural wilderness settings. We go there about 50 times a year, transport about half of those.
one last question.
Counselor Forsman?
But with having that ambulance there, we can't really, if we didn't have that ambulance at that station, could we still provide full benefit at all?
If we did not, so the Stoughton County Fire District contract, that ambulance is housed at the fire district that would typically respond to the rural EMS area.
Right.
If we didn't have the fire district unit there, and we still had a contract to respond to the wilderness area, then that would come from somewhere in the city, and it would extend the ETAs 10 or 15 minutes out to those areas.
Okay.
And that's a rough number. I don't, sorry, please don't hold me to that. I'm estimating drive time between here and the district station that then you would have to go further out from.
Okay.
Counselor Wright?
Yes. So I just want to add, this type of service it reminds me of what we have in the IT industry, where we'll buy server space from AWS because it's cheaper to get their space, and they're experts at it, at putting together these servers and keeping them always running. The service that we're building with EMS, it reminds me of that we're the experts in an ambulance service, and because of our size, we can provide it at a fairly reasonable price. And we're using that service for Lewiston, and then in this next contract, we're using it. I'll stay out of that contract for the moment, but we're also using it in another location, and then this rural one, they want that service as well. Now, we're increasing the price on this service to make it fair, to where we're getting reimbursed and it's not our taxpayers paying for the service. And adjust, my understanding is we will continue to adjust this over time to make sure that our taxpayers are not paying for this service, that it's just a service that we're providing at a cost. And with that in mind, as this service, I mean, we may see other things in the future as this service increases. Maybe those rural areas will start having their own form of ambulances. I think they might have that to an extent where it's the less specialized ambulances, maybe quick response. I see some of those in Nez Perce County as well. So to help supplement their cost on things that might not be as much of an emergency. But if we're getting our money back and it's not causing a burden to Lewiston, the Lewiston taxpayers, then I don't see a concern with that service, but we need to properly manage it, of course, and charge the right price.
Thank you, Counselor. I'm going to ask Clerk Brocky to call the roll. This is on Resolution 2025-48. It was moved by Counselor Schroeder, seconded by Counselor Forsman, to approve Resolution 2025-48. Clerk Brocky?
Council President Kleber,
Aye.
Councilor Wright,
Aye.
Councilor Forsman,
Aye.
Councilor Schroeder,
Aye.
Councilor Klein. Aye. Councilor Spiegelmeier.
Nay.
Motion carries. Thank you, Council. Next up, we have item C under the active agenda, 6C, Resolution 2025-49, concerning approving an intergovernmental cooperation agreement between the City of Lewiston and Stoughton County Fire Protection District Number 1 and the City of Stoughton for emergency medical services, and authorizing the mayor to sign the agreement. Again, this is an action item, and our Fire Chief, Greg Reitmeyer, is with us here tonight. Chief, welcome.
Good evening, Council. Greg Reitmeyer, Fire Chief. Thank you. Now that we kind of primered the last one, we can get into the issues. This is a different agreement, And it's the calculations that you see in the contract before you, instead of a service agreement where it's a pay-as-you-go, this is a partnership agreement that looks at a cost allocation or a cost-sharing model. And the reason that we look at that differently than the Nez Perce County contract and the rural EMS contract is because there's, in the partnership with the Soton County Fire District is the provision of the station and all of the costs that go along with providing a fire station in a location we don't have access to otherwise, with our own resources. Some of those one of the things that we've done is improved our math for you in a solid and hard work attempt to get the numbers better and not just have something that is 20 years old or 15 years old. It's just been mathematically manipulated and nobody can point to what it started as. We're trying to really get away from the guesstimation in the math game. And so in order to look at this service agreement with our Soton County Fire District partners, we, rather than trying to guesstimate at how you value the cost, how you value a better response for 500 plus households in your city, we looked at the cost or the breakdown, the usage breakdown and the cost sharing breakdown. And we looked at that and said, okay, is each person that's using it paying close to what they use it for? The amount of time that they're using it, and it's really not, it's not a time-based study, it's a call number-based study. Those are numbers that are solid and I can reproduce and we can look at that math year after year. In drafting this up and working with some of the council members and with our legal counsel, we specifically put in here a triggering mechanism that requires not only an annual review and report, but a specific trigger that if we see a change in the usage percentage that exceeds that trigger, then we have to get together and meet and make sure, again, from our end, that we're not extending our tax dollars past what is a fair, to use Councilman Wright's assessment of that, what's fair for our citizens. This is tougher because there are 500 plus houses that are receiving better care from that. And it's very difficult to quantify that. And, I've told you time and time again, I'm not going to say the sky is falling or throw some straw man argument at you, but those are significant response time improvements when you look at an entire minute for somebody. At some day, hopefully you're in the future, I hope we have a new fire station 4. It'll be in a better location and we'll have a much different assessment to do on our service delivery. But right now, that's the best place to be able to deliver the service, and it's a good cost-effective partnership. Looking over it back in 2009 is when it was first proposed, and the 2011 contract was $390,000. That changed in 17 to $400,000. There is no automatic upgrade built in there. Essentially, it's understood to both partners that the fire district absorbs all of the increase in the cost of the facility and running the facility, and we're absorbing the increase in the cost of the staffing in the units. But that is reimbursed with monies from our transport revenue, which we always from the beginning on this contract, the transport revenues have come to the city. In addition, in 2018, the GMT revenues started coming to the city. So that's my high-level synopsis. Any questions? I'm happy to answer for you.
Thank you, Chief. Councilor Spickelmeyer.
So, once again, this here, if I look at the summary, agenda summary that was given us here, the last line, it says stationing at the Soton County Fire Department improves coverage for the city's Elks Edition and the surrounding area. And in your numbers, that unit had 1,532 calls, 293 of them were to Lewiston, so that puts over 1,200 of them that they weren't available. So to me, making the statement that our primary purpose of them being over there is to have a quick response time to the Elks, that doesn't work. What we're doing is we're over there so we can help out of Soton County.
I understand your point. All I can tell you is when we do system design in fire and EMS, we design for the what if everybody's in quarters. We don't design if well, if there was 13 of these and 5 of those and 3 of those, what would you do then? It just becomes too complex. It becomes a chess game, and there's just too many moves to forecast and given honest accounting. So you're correct. They're busier running Asotin County calls than they are running City of Lewiston calls. But clearly they run 300 City of Lewiston calls. So they're not busy all the time. And that's just why we have second due and third due units to backfill and to try to cover. And the same problem can be said for Fire Station 2 or Fire Station 1. Once those units go out, then we have to backfill and cover with another station.
So I guess mine's just that core, because I know when they originally put this through to the city council to approve to put them over there, the selling point on that, and one of our counselors keeps bringing it up, that it's a 1 minute quicker response out of that station. It's not true. When they're available, it's a 1 minute response.
This is true. When they're available. And again, I don't have another way to build a system or design a system that will never have a hole that's cost effective. I mean, you can build systems, even large systems like Spokane, that use what's called system design management or system status management, and they move units constantly. They're always constantly moving. But the moment you move, you could be driving away from a call. And so it's just one of the difficult parts about system design is you're always going to have the missing call. But when you're in quarters, when everybody's in quarters and the system is at its best readiness standard, then we've built it so that we're closer.
I guess for me, the city or the city council, we need to move forward and try to work out a way to move the Lewiston taxpayers' assets back to Lewiston, whatever it's going to cost. But that's where they should be, and crossing the river should be the other opportunity to help out.
Councillor Schroeder,
I'd like to make a motion.
motion's in order.
I move to consider, using the word consideration, approving an intergovernment cooperation, this one right here. Motion to approve Resolution 2549. Simple, and I was making it difficult. Sorry.
I won't bring 2 contracts on the same night again.
Second, yep.
Okay, it's been moved by Councillor Schroeder, seconded by Councillor Wright to approve Resolution 2025-49.
Right here.
And Councillor Schroeder, would you like to speak to your motion?
Yes, I think it's, again, a way of communicating through not just Lewiston, but we're communicating through the entire area that we can serve. And I don't think we can break down any better than the way you do it. And I'm amazed how you explain it in such a casual and way. So anyway, I do appreciate what you have put together here, and I am totally in support of it.
Councillor Forsman?
I guess I'm struggling a little bit because I feel like that example of when they're available, you have that 1 minute response time increase. But you can say that throughout the whole entire city. Anytime one of the ambulances is busy with another call, that's going to lessen the response time. So I don't really I really feel like it's apples and oranges, and I don't really see the comparison there. And I'm also not really hearing the downfall to the taxpayer, because in that already you can say anytime a call is made and now they can't go to that call in the same response time because they're not at the station is a downfall to the taxpayer. I don't know. I'm not seeing it. Not to mention, if we have to move everything over here, we have to have another building, which costs more money to house it and maintain it and maintenance it. Where right now we have an ambulance that sits in a building that is maintained by the city of Asotin, as well as food and everything provided that they provide for that service over there. I don't really see where the huge downfall is that it seems to be making out to be. Not relevant, but it's just just trying to understand it. Comment, I guess.
Other council comments? Okay, if not, Clerk Rocky?
Council President Kleber,
Aye.
Councilor Wright,
Aye.
Councilor Forsman,
Aye.
Councilor Schroeder,
Aye.
Councilor Klein,
Aye.
Councilor Spiegelmeier.
Nay.
Carries. Thank you, council. Councilors, next up, we have item 6D, RFQ-25-018, award for the 2026 Water Facilities Plan Update, WR085, considering awarding RFQ-25-018, 2026 Water Facilities Plan Update, WR085, and project to JUB Engineers Inc. in the amount of $325,000 and authorizing the mayor to sign the professional services agreement. This is an action item. We have our Public Works Director with us here, Dustin Johnson, tonight. Welcome, Director. The floor is yours.
Good evening, Mayor, City Council, Dustin Johnson, Public Works Director. I think Dodd's presentation earlier tonight talking about the importance, I did see infrastructure on there. That was second from the bottom, but still very important. But these master plans are kind of the Bible that these utilities follow. They're usually good for 4 to 7 years, depending on how much work you accomplish throughout that time period. The current water facility plan or master plan was done in preparation for the what we call the SRF project. So it was very centric towards the water treatment plant. Obviously, that project has closed out, and so we're transitioning out of that capital improvement or that CIP list. One thing I did want to say is, the master plans evaluate the entire system, look at your strengths, look at your weaknesses, and then prioritize your future projects. And so we've had a lot of conversations over the last 6 months, particularly about water rates. And we are aware of the high, water rate that Lewiston currently has, and we're also aware of the backlog of capital projects that need to be addressed. I think this is one of the most important evaluations that I've had in my time in the city, just mostly because the city, predating me, has done a really good job of addressing those deficiencies, starting with the water treatment plant. And now we're transitioning into some of these, they're not as attractive, we're not going to name a transmission line after a former counselor, but, water treatment plants and reservoirs, and some of those things are more eye-popping. This one will have a lot of dollars attached to it and have some very significant projects that will impact future water rate and future development within the city. So the accounting behind it it's a $325,000 contract. It was built into, I guess with the last year's budget, we're now in FY26, but we did wastewater and water at the same time. We staggered them because of just staff availability. So we're kind of closing out the wastewater master plan right now, and so we'll start on water right now. Just generally, it shows the importance of these facility plans and that the DEQ provides grants out there. The maximum grant available for cities in Idaho is $45,000. So the city did receive that grant. So the total grant or the total contracts for $325,000. The city will pick up the difference of that $45,000, which is $280,000. I think the only other part to include was the procurement process. We went through purchasing. We had 5 submittals. We interviewed them and made the recommendation for, I believe it is JUB Engineers. So I stand for questions.
Thank you, Director. Council? Councilor Wright?
Yeah, so I recall a meeting, and I don't recall how many months ago it was, but there was a presentation, and I think one of your engineers was showing us water lines at the airport and how changes need to be made. Is that similar to this? We're just hiring an outside group?
Yeah. So that one was very focused, and that was grant driven too. That one was very focused on that section of our water system is very unique. It's very large pipe, a lot of water pressure out there. This is more taking the entire facility. And so this one's more global than that one.
Okay.
But basically kind of the same thing, evaluating a system, coming up with recommended improvements, and then prioritizing them. This would just be more global.
Okay, thank you.
Counselor Schroeder,
I'd like to make a motion.
motion's in order.
I move to award RFQ-25-018, 2026 Water Facility Plan Update to JUB Engineers, Inc. in the amount of $325,000 and authorizing the mayor to sign the agreement.
Second.
Been moved by Counselor Schroeder, seconded by Council President Kleber to award RFQ-25-018, 2026 Water Facilities Plan Update to JUB Engineers, Inc. in the amount of $325,000 and authorizing the mayor to sign the agreement. Is there further discussion? Clerk Rocky?
Council President Kleber.
Aye.
Counselor Wright.
Aye.
Counselor Forsman.
Aye.
Counselor Schroeder.
Aye.
Counselor Klein. Aye. Counselor Spiegelmeier.
Aye.
Council, thank you, Clerk Rocky. Thank you, Director Johnson. Done with you, right? You got one more?
One more.
Never, never one.
Four.
I know.
Done with
I'm
you.
so cold. It's okay.
Yeah,
Next,
don't
we
worry.
move to item E, raw water intake upgrade, WR050 Amendment Number 4. My apologies, Council. Director Johnson, considering approving the Fourth Amendment to the WR050 raw water intake agreement between McMillan Inc. and the City of Lewiston in the amount of $245,857.40, and authorizing the mayor to sign the amendment. Director.
Good evening, Mayor, City Council. So in Public Works, there's so many projects that we love to be a part of the community and make these improvements. And then there's projects like these. This project here has been a very challenging project, and it predates, I think, most of us, going back to when they built the levees and they put this in water intake, and it never functioned as it was designed. And so we've taken on as one of our priorities to get a functioning water intake. And so I guess I'll just take 45 seconds of your time and give you an update on the current project. And so going back to, as I said, the original water intake never worked. We've been using the temporary one, and so now we're trying to get the original one to function. That went through as part of the SRF, the larger, as the water treatment plant, the reservoirs, and the intake. And this one was kind of the last of all of those. And so taking it on, and preliminarily, they awarded the engineering contract. That was Jacobs Engineering, or who are we talking about here tonight? Sorry, I'm getting a long day here. Awarding this contract, they did the preliminary engineering, and what was thought to be functioning out there was not. So the concrete was deficient, the steel and rebar, everything that was out there was deficient. And so that was the first amendment to the contract, to go back and redesign and figure out how we could make that site function. So then they got a functioning design, working. We couldn't get drillers to come here and do preliminary to make sure the riverbed would function for what we want. So then that was another amendment. And so then we finally got a contractor on board. And then that was the third amendment, was for them to come out and do the engineering inspection. So now we have a contractor, we have an engineer to do the inspection, and we started working on it. And that was a project that started this summer. And they have what's a micro tunneler. So the micro tunnel, they drilled or dug out the wet well. You probably saw them if you've gone out towards Orofino by the casino there. That's the project that's going on there. So the wet well went in, and so then you go straight out from the wet well underneath the river, underneath the surface of the water, underneath the bottom of the river to get the intake with a micro tunneler, which is, I think it's 42 inches in diameter going out there, and the steel shaft goes behind it. The tunneler got stuck. So that was the problem of the summer, and we've been fighting it. Good news is the tunneler has been taken out and removed, and the project is still active right now, but we will be buttoning it up this November. But we did not get nearly as far as we wanted to on the project, and we've exhausted all of our engineering funds, and now we have to go back and kind of evaluate where we're at today and how we need to complete this project. And if you remember when we awarded this contract, we didn't have the money to build the project completely because we were still short, I think, $8 million for all the pumps and everything, all the guts that go in with this intake. So what this contract does today, since we've exhausted all our engineering and inspection up to today, it wraps up, it kind of finishes up what we're doing out there currently, reevaluates this, or doesn't reevaluate, but evaluates the system where we're at, and sets us on a course to complete the project. Again, we don't have the funds to complete the project, but it gives us, the dollar amount and the design to apply for the grants or continue reaching out to our state and federal delegates to try and find funding for it. So not great news, but the good news is we did get a good chunk of the project done this summer and into this fall. So there's a lot to unpack with this. The information was in your packet, but I stand for questions if you have any.
Thank you, Director. Council? Councilor Spickelmeyer?
Thank you, Mayor. So Director, I was trying to follow the sequence of events in this, and I was kind of curious. It looked like the timeline, as you mentioned, it kept moving on. And if this engineering company, didn't they already at one time in a contract have, it said they were going to finish up the drawings and things, do final drawings and stuff like that? That's part of this?
This will get they won't be final because the project won't be completed, but it will get as-built and record drawings of what has been completed to date, yeah.
Weren't they already paid for that before when this was extended?
Yes, but we chewed through, we had the dollar amount, and so since the project's been active, we used those dollars to continue to do the inspection stuff that overran throughout the summer.
Gotcha. Thanks.
Councilor Schroeder?
I move to approve the Fourth Amendment to the WR 050 raw water intake agreement in the amount of $245,857.40 between Macmillan Inc. and the City of Lewiston, and authorizing the mayor to sign the amendment.
Been moved by Councilor Schroeder, second by Councilor Forsman, to approve the Fourth Amendment to the WR 050 raw water intake agreement in the amount of $245,857.40 between Macmillan Incorporated and the City of Lewiston, and authorizing the mayor to sign the amendment. Further discussion? Hearing none, Clerk Rocky?
Council President Kleber,
Aye.
Councilor Wright,
Aye.
Councilor Forsman,
Aye.
Councilor Schroeder,
Aye.
Councilor Klein,
Aye.
Councilor Spickelmeyer.
Aye.
Thank you, Council. Thank you, Clerk Rocky. Motion carries. Next, we move to Roman numeral 6F. Purchase of 2 mechanical sweepers through Sourcewell Cooperative, considering approving the purchase of 2 Elgin Pelican 3-wheeled mechanical sweepers through Sourcewell contract number 093021-ELG to replace fleet units number 463 and number 470 in the amount of $665,651.02 per end, $332,825.51 for each sweeper in print. This is an action item. We have our finance director with us here tonight, Amy Gordon. Amy, welcome.
Thank you, Mayor. Amy Gordon, City Treasurer. I did just want to make certain council had the correct motion language, because I think there was a typo in the motion language. So we want to make certain that the approval is for the $665,651.02.
Would you like me to make the motion again?
Motion has not been made.
I don't think a motion's been made yet.
Oh, okay.
Let's see if there's any council questions first.
Oh, that's right, I didn't do that.
Okay. Councilor Schroeder?
Okay. Motion to approve the purchase of the 2 Elgin Pelican 3-wheeled mechanical sweepers per Sourcewell contract number 093021-ELG in the amount of, here it is, the $665,000.
660.
Oh, $665,651.02. Right there, I could have read it, okay. And authorizing the city staff to proceed with the purchase.
Second.
Been moved by Councilor Schroeder, seconded by Councilor Wright, to approve the purchase of 2 Elgin Pelican 3-wheeled mechanical sweepers per Sourcewell contract 093021-ELG in the amount of $665,651.02, and authorizing city staff to proceed with the purchase. Is there discussion? Clerk Rocky?
Council President Kleber,
Aye.
Councilor Wright,
Aye.
Counselor Forsman,
Aye.
Counselor Schroeder,
Aye.
Counselor Klein,
Aye.
Counselor Spiegelmeier.
Aye.
Council, next we move to Roman numeral 7, or 8, pardon me, unfinished and new business. Item A, city councilor comments. Comments shall not be related to an item currently before the city council or an item that may come before the city council in the foreseeable future and shall be limited to comments, not discussion. Councilors?
Mayor.
Councilor Forsman?
Halloween is this Friday, and I did some research on accidents, especially with kids wearing costumes and it being dark and cars. So most Halloween pedestrian fatalities occur between 6 to 7 p.m. According to the U.S. Consumer Product Safety Commission's, an average of 3,200 people visit the emergency room due to Halloween-related injuries. Those injuries break down as follows. 55, oh, I was just going to read, excuse me. I'll read the children being injured. And so on average, children are more than twice as likely to be hit and killed by a car on Halloween. There are approximately 2.6 children pedestrian fatalities each day, but on Halloween, that number more than doubles to 5.5. So with that being said, make sure that you're watching your little ones, that they're not running for cars, putting lights on them, glow sticks. Maybe they're for Halloween already is lighting, then that's a plus. Because it is dark and they get excited to run across the street for candy or whatever it may be. So just a word of caution that this is a fun but also cautious time.
Thank you, Councilor. Further council comments? Item B, city boards and commissions, liaison updates.
Mayor.
Councilor Forsman?
In SAD, we met last week or the week before. Last week. But I'm going to talk a little bit on it. I'll talk more on it later. But we just kind of going over some legal language and wording that we will eventually bring back to council at a later date. So stay tuned for that, and I will have more details at my next update.
Councilor Schroeder?
Thank you. I didn't bring my information with me. We had an MPO meeting on October 9, and I would like to review some of the things that we went over at the meeting on that day. And this has to do with the Transportation Improvement Program, the TIP amendments. And Amendment 2510 is concerned with Asotin County, the Fleshman Way chip seal. And the project will improve the pavement conditions and driver safety in Fleshman Way and its approaches by applying chip seal, fog seal, and striping the road surface of critical principal arterial roads. This project is fully funded through the 2025 National Highway System Asset Management Program. Now, also there was an amendment 2511 about Asotin County 15th Street Improvement Phase 1. This project will install, upgrade, signing, pavement markings and illustrations on 15th Street from Valley View Drive to Highland Avenue. This project is fully funded through the Highway Safety Program also. And so I hope they're still relevant to what we talked about that day, but I was negligent in not having it sooner to review with you.
Councilor, further council comments, boards and commissions? Councilor Speckelmeyer?
Mayor, update in the Parks and Rec Commission meeting. We went through the airport parks lease and brought forth to the mayor the recommendation. We also had some really encouraging updates and information about the Bertlips Pool repair requirements, also Orchards Pool and Fenton Gym. And I believe Director Glenn will be bringing that to the council pretty soon.
Thank you, Councilor. Council President Kleberg?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. We also had a urban renewal agency meeting a week ago, Tuesday, and brings up my vote this evening about representation from the county on the URA board. Um, URA is doing a great job, in my opinion. Especially out in the East Orchards, we've expanded the sewer capacity out there, getting people off septic tanks and whatnot. There were several goals that were established many years ago, when whether they're still pertinent or not, we don't know, but we heard a presentation from the Nez Perce County Soil and Water Conservation District on nitrates in the soil and how they move and whatnot. And I think this is a big fundamental difference between how the county views things and how the city views things. I'll leave it at that. It was a good meeting.
Counselor?
Mayor?
Counselor Klein?
So we had the airport meeting last Tuesday. They're deep into construction. They're getting their runway lights. They're getting LED ones that are a lot higher so that when you do have snow, they don't get covered. They also have, Delta has extended their lease another 5 years. And then the cemetery meeting was canceled.
Thank you, Counselor. Is that it? Other comments? Okay.
Have one.
What's that?
I didn't have a meeting this last week.
Counselor Forsman, did you want to go again?
I just said, she was talking about the airport and they were announcing bringing food to the workers at the airport that are from the government shutdown that are possibly not getting paid. So if you happen to be in there and want to donate to help them in this time of uncertainty and frustration, it is open for people to do that, for traveling, or if you just want to go in there and drop some food. I believe the box was in the front door or near the front door. So I just, as you mentioned that, it reminded me of that. So please, well, if they would like to donate to help those in need right now.
Thank you, Counselor. Next, we'll move to the mayor comments. Well, my first one is to congratulate our city attorney, Jennifer Tangano. For her award. I'm just so terribly proud of her, and I know she's very proud to work for City of Lewiston, all the good work that she does. But thank you, Jennifer, for the good work that you do for all of us. And also, counselors, I'm going to speak back to the contract that we just signed for Soap County Fire District 1. I get to vote, so I didn't get to explain a vote or anything, but I will tell you that I'm concerned about all of our contracts that we have at the city, and to ensure that we're covering the taxpayers' interests first. So I concur with some of the comments made by Councilor Spickelmeyer tonight, but I want to say a couple of things. This contract is backdated, so we had to get it done. We need to keep moving forward. But I would tell you, and Chief Reitmeyer, I'm going to be taking a close look at this starting tomorrow for the next contract in the next year. And I'm also going to ask for the annual update report from the February meeting, because I'm not sure we got that in past years, but I think it's important that we have that information to share with the council so that we can kind of just monitor these things a little bit closer and make sure that we really understand, and Noel Hardness with us here tonight too, our chief over there in the district. So Noel, thank you for being here tonight. But you heard some of the concerns that we have tonight, and I think we just have to get the best data we can to make sure that we're being, accountable, responsible up here. So appreciate your patience with us as we work through this. But Councilor Spickelmeyer, I'm going to do a little bit more work, and I appreciate your concern, and you and I have talked about that. So thank you. Councilors, 8D, agenda topics. Anything coming up? Okay, if not, Roman numeral 9, adjournment. I'd entertain a motion.
I move to adjourn.
Second.
It's been moved by Councilor Schroeder, second by Councilor Forsman to adjourn. Those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? We are adjourned. Thank you, council.